One of the recently released features that we have inside of Insights is build and launch. That's going to let you build an image and then launch it into a public cloud provider. I'm going to start here in the hybrid cloud console. I'm going to choose services, inventories, images. I don't currently have any images that are created, so I'm going to scroll down the page here and click create image. This is going to open a wizard up for me. I can choose my version of RHEL. I'm going to do RHEL 8. My architecture, I'm going to stick with x86. And then my cloud provider. In my case, my environment, I'm going to build this in AWS. You could, of course, use GCP, Microsoft Azure, or private cloud. You could do VMware vSphere for OVA or VMDK, or other options you have are QCal2, ISO, and even WSL. But I'm going to start with AWS. Click Next. You can use an account that's configured in the sources, or you can manually enter account information. I already have AWS added into my hybrid cloud console sources, and that's going to fulfill for me my region and my account ID. Click Next. You can register this system at the time it's created, or you can register it at a later time. I'm going to say automatically register to enable the advanced capabilities. I'm going to do that through an activation key. We've got an activation for RHEL. It's going to fill in information for system purpose, such as role, SLA, and usage. For your file system configuration, you can use automatic partitioning, or if you're doing something more complex, especially if you're doing any sort of regulatory compliance, you may need to manually configure your partitions. So your default is just going to have a basic mount point that's XFS, but we may need to put, say, temp on a different directory for a regulatory compliance policy. And let's also make that 10 gig in size. Add as many partitions as you need. And when you're ready, click Next. If you're going to use this server for a workload like Postgres, you can search. Here's PostgreSQL. If I scroll down, PostgreSQL Server, can move that over. This is how we're going to add our packages that we need for our environment. Later on, I plan to do malware detection, which requires Yara, and I plan to maybe do Performance Copilot. Make your selections, click Next. If you have any sort of custom repositories from third parties, you can add those. We do have an option by default to add EPEL if you desire, but you can add any other custom repositories that you would like. Name your image. This will be RHEL 8 Postgres, be my PostgreSQL server. You can review any of the information that you need to review, and then click Create Image. This image creation is probably going to take about 12 minutes, so in the interest of time, we're going to fast forward this until the point that that image is ready to go. Okay, so just about 12 minutes later, my image is ready. I expand this window out, a little bit of information about it, the UUID, the source, the AMI, region, and of course, status. So that's the build part of build and launch. The next part is the launch. There's a launch button available right here. Before I click it though, there's 3 little dots. That lets me share it to a new region, to recreate the image, or download the compose request as a JSON. I am going to click launch. I'm going to launch this in AWS in US East 1. I can choose my instance type. I am going to go with this one, a T2 large. I can select my template if I have one set up in my public cloud provider. In this case, I do. I have a host launch template that sets up things for me like my preferred security group, extra tags, information like that. It's reading that in from AWS. Count, I can create multiple versions of this if I want. I'm just going to do one, but if I needed to create 10, I can just increment this and create 10. Super easy. Finish, click Next. And at this point, you can either add a new SSH public key that you will use to connect to the system, or you can select an existing one. I've got one for my laptop and one for my desktop, depending on which machine I'm working from. I am going to choose my desktop, which is where I am right now. Click Next, review your details, and click Launch. Creating the reservation, transferring over the keys, launching the instances, and then we are presented with the ID, the DNS information, and the SSH command that I need to connect. We're not quite ready yet. This is going to take maybe 3 minutes to actually become available in the public cloud. But the information that we need to connect is ready right here, available for us. Any of this information on screen, I can export it out to a CSV. I can expand it so I can see the additional information. And I'm just going to copy the SSH command and move on over to a terminal here. Paste that right in. Yes, I want to connect, and now I'm connected to my system and ready to go. So I have both built and launched a system from inside of Red Hat Insights. Before I leave, I'm going to jump into the inventory. That was, click the menu, go into Systems, and there's 81228. It's available just now. I can see all of the information available from this system. It's a RHEL 8.8 that we spun up inside of AWS. And any kind of information from our advisor service, vulnerability service, compliance, or patch service is going to be available right here inside of the Insights UI, available for you to see immediately. That's building and launching from Red Hat Insights.